So diversity in media in America is our topic. I'm mentioning this because at some point in this discussion, we will have audience participation. And I'd like to have the questions that are confined to the area of our discussion today. I would also like to mention that our discussion is not about politics. We are not going to discuss US elections or the situation in Pakistan vis-a-vis, political issues, or for that matter, any other issues. Our discussion today is really confined to the role of media in America, and especially the ethnic media and the diversity or lack thereof in the media. So now that I have defined my discussion, I would like to thank a few people. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our beloved Consul Janab Asim Ali Khan Sahab. Thank you so much for joining us. You can clap. Of course, we have our mayor, our own mayor, Ali Sadat Taj of RTGR. Mayor Taj is running for California State Assembly, and we will have some discussion about that shortly. We have several dignitaries, but the biggest dignitaries we have are these journalists. We are very privileged to have a panel of very accomplished journalists, and you will meet them shortly. So this is really our privilege to have them among us today. These journalists are actively working in the mainstream media, and I'm very grateful that they have taken the time to come out and share their thoughts with us today. So how about a big round of applause before I invite them for our journalists. So I'll tell you how this event is going to proceed. So I would now, in a few minutes, I will invite our esteemed guests to join me on the stage. Subsequent to that, we have a few short speeches. Of course, the president of our organization, the life and blood of Friend of Pakistan, would have a welcoming speech to welcome you all. After a few short speeches, we will begin the questions and answers. And there would be several rounds of questions. After questions from the moderator, we will open the floor for questions from the audience. And again, I request that we confine to the limited scope of the discussion that I mentioned. Subsequent to that, each of the panelists would have 2 minutes to sum up their thoughts and give any message that they have. And subsequent to that, we have some certificates and some gifts for our panelists. And then subsequent to that, we will have dinner. So at this time, I would now invite the panelists to join me on the stage, and I will just call their name in no specific order. I'd like to invite Irfan Khan. Irfan Khan Sahab, please take your seat. Mr. Javed Kaleem. Mohtarma Suhana Hussain. Mohtarma Amira Bhatt. Mohtarma Rubina Azhar. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are, the cream of the crop. Very accomplished journalists who have been actively involved in mainstream media. We have among us Pulitzer Prize finalists. We have among us journalists that are working for Los Angeles Times, NPR, and what have you. You will get to learn from them, and you will get to learn, their thoughts about diversity in the media. So, at this stage, I would like to now welcome my colleague, the Assistant Vice President of our Media Committee, Friend of Pakistan, has about 250 members as of now. So please put your hands together for Afia Hassan. Actually, I would like to very briefly tell you a little bit about Afia Hassan. She is a very, very famous YouTuber and TikToker with over millions of fans. She is not only a very famous TikToker, she is also a businesswoman who owns Afza Healthcare, and she also is an educator. She teaches courses on cryptocurrency, and there is a very long list of accomplishments, but here it is. Big round of applause for Afia Hassan, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Your participation is greatly appreciated. At Friends of Pakistan, we recognize the vital role that media plays in our community. Our team is committed to delivering timely updates on important news and events. Thank you once again for your support to Friends of Pakistan. Friends of Pakistan has been actively engaged in organizing events in Southern California since the beginning of this year alone. We have organized 15 public or community events, and the year is not even over. I would like to now show you. I would like to show you a short video about some of the events that we serve community that FOP has organized. Let's watch the short video.
This year, Friends of Pakistan embarked on an inspiring journey, bringing together our community through a series of impactful events that highlighted our cultural heritage, empowered diverse voices, and fostered a spirit of compassion and unity. Each gathering we organized was a testament to the strength of our community, showcasing the values that drive us to grow, celebrate, and support one another. From lively cultural festivals filled with traditional music, dance, and delicious food, to enlightening panel discussions on representation and the power of inclusion, our events created spaces where everyone felt seen, heard, and for each event served as a platform for both Pakistani Americans and our extended community to engage with the richness of Pakistani culture, building pride and understanding that spanned generations. Our focus on meaningful dialogue came to life with events that explored the impact of diverse voices in media, shining a spotlight on how essential it is for all communities to see themselves authentically represented. These discussions inspired countless attendees to advocate for change, understanding that a more inclusive media landscape starts with each of us. The insights shared underscored the power of representation and our role in shaping a fairer, more equal. This year also marks some of our most memorable community initiatives. Our Community Give Back Day became one of the largest volunteer-driven events in the county, drawing together friends, families and supporters from across the region. Together we gathered donations of shoes, clothing and blankets for our housing insecure neighbours, turning compassion into action and making a tangible difference in the lives of many. The overwhelming support we received was a powerful reminder of the impact we can make when we come together with kindness and purpose. Beyond these events, Friends of Pakistan provided platforms for networking, personal growth and collaboration, organising social gatherings and professional meetups that helped Pakistani Americans connect, share experiences and support each other's ambitions. These gatherings strengthened the bonds within our community and encouraged partnerships that extended far beyond the events themselves. As we reflect on this year, we are deeply grateful for everyone who joined us, volunteered, and supported our mission. This journey wouldn't have been possible without the dedication of our community, our partners, and all who contributed to making each event a success. Together, we've made strides in building a legacy of cultural pride, unity, and empowerment. With even more initiatives on the horizon, Friends of Pakistan is excited to continue this journey, strengthening our community and celebrating the values Thank you for being a part of this remarkable year. Here's to many more opportunities to uplift, inspire, and celebrate together. This year, Friends of Pakistan embarked on an inspiring journey.
Next, my next speaker is the person that need no introduction. He is the life and blood of our organization, Friend of Pakistan. He's the backbone, and he has led our organization into a major national organization. He's a very, very successful businessman, owns several companies, many companies, a factory in Pakistan. He owns JFK Realty and Loan Depot, Kind Home Loans, and many other organizations. He is the president, as I mentioned, of Friend of Pakistan. He's also the president of CSE, the Los Angeles County Sheriff Advisory Community Advisory Council. He's a member of Pacific Council on International Affairs and many other organizations. So please, put your hands together for Jamal Khwaja.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I don't know where to start from. Even I have no words left after seeing the video. It's amazing. Our loved Consulate General, Asim Ali Khan Saab, our brother. In fact, I feel like we have so much to learn from Ali Taj, the mayor of Artesia, all the board directors of Friends of America, Friends of Pakistan, the journalists. I'm a little scared because of you all. I know any mistake I make, you're going to talk about it. So I'm a little cautious today. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, Assalamu alaikum. When we started this journey of Friends of Pakistan, we were 14 people. And an idea or a concept came to our mind that many organizations are working in California, all around Pakistani American community. We thought we want to do something different. So as our chairman Arif Mansoori Saab, me, Kamal Zafar, Abda, Daraksham, I can keep on going. We've been talking that we want to do something different and something impactful. There is no point repeating the same thing again and again. Just come up with the name, open up an organization and do the same thing, halla gulla, have nihari, biryani and keep on going. We wanted to make the change. So the first thing we did, and all thanks to Arif Mansoori, we put the agenda together. That what really we want to do. What do we do that it makes a difference in people who are living here? The Pakistan I see here, the Sri Lanka I see here, the Bangladesh I see here, because this is our home now. Me, my kids, or my grandchildren ain't going to go back to Pakistan. In fact, to tell you very honestly, as Arif Bhai mentioned that I do have business in Pakistan, but believe me, they all tell me you're no more a Pakistani. I can't swear like them. I can't lie like them. I can't cheat like them anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be like the normal business language over there is, for every lie they swear. You know, I went to a restaurant. I just want to take a few minutes to make you understand. I went to a restaurant. I told the waiter, get me a water without ice. When he brought me that glass of water, I told him, thank you. Again, I told him, hey, you don't mind, get me a little bigger plate. When he brought the plate, I said, thank you. My brother, who is almost 14 years younger than me, he's like, Baijan, are you going to say all the thank yous today? He's just doing his job. There's no need to thank him. And that's exactly what I want you to understand. The body language, the ideology, the system is totally different than here. So we won't fit in. Let me give you this news. If you ever try to go back there, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to have a retirement home, but business, forget about it. It ain't easy over there. So ladies and gentlemen, we have to make this our home. We want to make sure our voices are heard and we are not on the menu. We are deciding the menu. So for that, we needed people to come and join us. I'm sure you have seen there are many organizations, they have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 members. Allah has been extremely kind, nobody else can do anything but Allah, that we are above 250 people. And it's not the reason that I'm very good looking, or the chairman is very smart. It's the agenda, it's the people, it's the members, it's the board of directors, the vice presidents. They feel and they speak the truth. They don't want to sell anything. None of us are here in this business to get something. We are here to give something. We want to empower Pakistani Americans, Sri Lankan Americans, Bangladeshi Americans, all Americans. We want to empower them. There is so many resources available in this country. We are unaware of it. We want to bring those resources to you all. I'm so proud when Ali Taj is here. He's a clear evidence that a Pakistani American started as a council member, became a mayor. I don't know how many 100, 200 years he's been a mayor of Artesia. And today, by the grace of God, I would love to see him as a senator. And I have no doubt with all of our supports and our friends' support, we'll make sure that California Senate has a representation from us as well. And this is not the job that me, RFI, or Friends of America can do, Friends of Pakistan can do it alone. We want you to support us. Our agenda is very simple. Let's work together. You have a problem, we have a solution. If we don't have a solution, we'll look for a solution for you. But we need to work together. If we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about any background, we just talk about one thing. We are here, this is our community. If we have a problem, you have a problem, and I have a problem. So let's work together. I will humbly request you, go to our website, it's very easy. friendsofpakistanusa.com. There is a membership form. We just charge you $10,000. It's not a big number. You can just join in, send the check, Zelle. Oh no, Zelle doesn't take more than $2,500. It's free. Most of our events are free. Only one thing we require from you is just come and join us. Let's do something together. I want to once again thank Irfan Khan. He is the brain behind this program today. I really thank him from the bottom of my heart. Because of his idea, his foresee, we have put this program together. People like him, we need them to come up front. If you have an idea, if you need something, or if you want to do something, come please join us. I can keep on going, but I'm sure I don't want to keep you and these people away. So once again, thank you very much, and please look into joining Friends of Pakistan. I have another job, to collect money. I'm good at it. I'm serious. Anyway, this time is to invite a gentleman, a real fine gentleman, a real diplomat, somebody who have come and stayed here for a very short time but has become one of us, a friend, somebody we can take guidance from and learn from. Please put your hands together for our loved Consulate General, Asim Ali Khan.
Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. After this powerful speech of Jamal Khaja Sahib, I'm short of words. I can't make this forceful speech, but actually, let me just thank all of you for inviting me, especially Friends of Pakistan, Chairman Arif Mansoori Sahib, President Jamal Khaja Sahib, all the board members, and all the guests who are present here. I think today's evening is about our panelists, so I would be very brief. Would like to hear from you instead of me or somebody else make a long speech. I'll say a few words about the topic of today's event is representation matters. This topic, ladies and gentlemen, is very close to my heart. I've been a strong proponent of this idea that representation matters. Since I've been here in this city serving the community for the last 18 months or so, over 18 months, I have been espousing and supporting this idea, and I'm glad that Friends of Pakistan took this initiative among other community organizations to initiate this conversation in this town. This is, I think, very important for all of us, and I would request all of you being present here to spread this word, to spread this idea among other community members and other community organizations and among other friends and even our families and especially youngsters. I'm glad to see majority of panelists are younger than at least me here. So I'd love to hear from you their thoughts about the representation. I will briefly say that representation not only in media, not only in news media, but at political level. It's crucially important for us, for this community, for any community which is, of course, in numbers a minority in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, this country, it's over 2 centuries old, has different community. It's a beautiful diversity that we see here, and equality and justice and rule of law. But those communities who are here for a shorter period of time struggle for representation in different fields, especially political field, media and other fields which can, in areas where you can make a difference, where you can secure your rights, where you can assert your diversity, and where you can have a voice for your own future. Pakistanis, although it's a Pakistani community is again a diverse community from different parts of Pakistan, belonging to different faith groups, different religions, different cultural groups, different ethnic groups, different provinces speaking different languages from back home, but predominantly being Muslim, practitioners of Muslim faith group, I think have a very unique place in this country for the reason that among the Muslim Americans, Pakistani community make up for at least, I would say, the single biggest faith subgroup among the Muslim Americans. This is a fact which very few people know. And by virtue of this status, being a million-strong Pakistani Americans, majority of them being Muslims, face peculiar challenges, and the representation being very low. As you all know that Muslim Americans are represented more at the federal level in the United States than at the state level. And at the state level, we need more representation at the political level. And we are glad that Ali Sajjad Taj Sahib is contesting an election and has decided to contest an election for California State Assembly. And we are very supportive of him, and I request all of you to support him. And this is the time we initiate this process, that we field more candidates which is commensurate to the population of not only Muslim Americans but Pakistani Americans, and similarly in media and other fields. Without naming different communities, you would find out there are some communities in this country which field and which possess and which implement and exercise undue and disproportionate influence as compared to their numbers. And this is a model that other communities can take a leaf from, that it's not your only a number, that you don't consider yourself as a minority in this community. You can exercise at least corresponding amount of influence and secure your rights and secure your place and address those specific challenges which, by being Asians and Muslims, we face in this country. Although there is largely a rule of law and equality and system of justice in place here, but still, under the surface there are challenges that all of you know and I know and all, and we know that these challenges keep coming up, and these challenges are not only local or inherent, they come up more intensely because of some international developments, and that we have recently observed. Whenever there are some international developments, especially in the Middle East and other parts of the Muslim world, those problems actually come here and create challenges for not only first generation immigrants, but for our children. And being in media, I'm glad that you are securing such positions that you can represent communities, and I would encourage all of you to encourage your children and future generations to consider joining those professions where they can not only represent our community, but also secure certain positions and certain professions where if there are any challenges come up again and again in future, they can defend and they can promote the interest of the community. So thank you very much again for your patience hearing, and I'll give the floor back to Chairman Sir, and love to hear from the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your wonderful comments. I would now invite my next speaker. Like Jamal Khaja Saab said, this gentleman is responsible for this event. So this was his idea. He's the brainchild of this event. And of course, he's no other than our own Mr. Irfan Khan. How about a big round of applause for Irfan Khan Saab? Thank you so much. So I will now introduce Irfan Khan Saab, and then I will invite him to introduce the panelists. So first, I would now introduce Irfan Khan Saab. Irfan Khan Saab has recently retired from Los Angeles Times. He was a staff photographer with the Los Angeles Times from 1996 to 2024. He previously served as a freelance photographer for the same Los Angeles Times since 1989. He started his career as a commercial photographer in 1973 in Pakistan and moved to Dubai in 1977. There he worked for an advertising agency and at a leading English newspaper. His assignments have taken him across Southern California and the US and internationally. He has photographed the Hajj in Saudi Arabia and war zones of Pakistan-Afghanistan border in the aftermath of the September 11, 2001 attacks. He was part of the team awarded the Pulitzer Prize in breaking news for coverage of the 2015 terrorist attack in San Bernardino. He was awarded Distinguished Journalist Award by the Society of Professional Journalists of Greater Los Angeles in 2020. Please put your hands together for Irfan Khan.
I welcome honorable guests, Consul General of Pakistan, and everyone here, all the dignitaries, all the board of directors, and the members of the community. I'm very encouraged by the presence of you all here. That shows you are really taking interest in it. I mean, briefly, they are saying that I started this thing, but let me tell you, the person who introduced me to FOP is my dear friend, Kamal Zafar. He brought me here. And I was so impressed by the energy, Jamal Khaja and Arif Mansuri, their energy, their sincerity, I saw that. I said I should be part of that. And this was my idea that I should, a lot of our community members, we talk about the media. Mostly, every home we talk about media, we blame everything on the media, but hardly they know anybody from the media. And I see there are so many, I mean, as you said, I retired after working for 35 years with the LA Times. I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to take this step and bring about some journalists who are of our own, who are in the who are in mainstream media, who have been with LA Times, and Amira Bhatt, she's in radio. I don't think so. Many of you heard that. NPR is a big player here, and Amira Bhatt is from there. So this is how put together and suggested the idea to three of us, and they initially jumped on it. And thank you for that. Thank you very much for that, providing this forum. So, I mean, I worked with all of them for so many years. I think with Amira, I didn't work that one because Amira came in during COVID. I think, no. So we were not in the office. So, Amira, why don't you start? I mean, you just tell us about yourself. What do you do, and what you're doing, what you did with LA Times, and what you do now. Please. Yeah.
So as Irfan said, first of all, Irfan, thank you so much for inviting all of us up here. I've never really had a chance to do this with so many people, including folks who are South Asian, Muslim folks, like my community. But yes, Irfan is right. I worked with everybody here at the LA Times for 2 years. I was their multi-platform editor, which just meant that I was the one, if you have the LA Times app, I was the one sending all the push alerts for all the breaking news. So you're welcome. And one of the people, I should say, I think it was like 13 people, but if you got the early morning alerts, that was me. And also a lot of the stories that you might have read from a lot of the folks here and other journalists at the LA Times, I helped build it out on the website. I was very involved in stories related to politics, especially DC and California as a regional. And it was just a great space. I think I told everybody here I was also part of the Muslim caucus and the Asian American caucus as well, which is the group, the subgroup in the LA Times. And it was the first time that I had been a part of a newsroom that had so many Muslims and so many South Asians, so many Arabs. It really felt like home. And it was just a really nice experience to be able to have that connection with everybody. And you know, we came from all over, like all over the country, all over the world, but just knowing that I had a sense of family there that I could rely on. You know, things would come up in the newsroom, there were questions, there was drama, of course, and I just knew that I had folks that I could fall back on. And so I was there for 2 years, and now I'm at NPR, based in Los Angeles, which is National Public Radio, so you probably hear it on your radios in the morning or any time of the day. And there I do a lot of the social media for them. So a lot of the Facebook and other posts, as well as the push alerts. So again, it's me sending out all those breaking news alerts. And that's also been a great experience so far, because NPR is the second place where it's kind of, I tell folks that it's similar to the LA Times, where there's so much community and such a good place to have diverse voices from all over. And it's just been really nice.
Thank you, thank you. What a career, what a career. Now, I'll go to Suhana right at the end. Suhana, please briefly tell us about yourself and what do you do. I met you at I think our first assignment was a business assignment.
Yeah.
And I saw that, I said, who's this little girl? What she's going to do? My God, she's amazing. You'll hear from her.
Yeah, so Irfan is right. We met, I was started at the LA Times as a reporting fellow, and I think the assignment he's thinking of is I was told to cover like a car show. People were auctioning off cars that had been confiscated basically by law enforcement authorities, and then later they were being auctioned off. So there was a bunch of really nice cars, and I had to write about it. Irfan had to photograph that show. And Irfan's such a great photographer to work with, because he feels very strongly about the story, and he will find sources. He will do reporting with you. It's very a unique experience. Anyway, so yes, I started at the LA Times as a fellow, and that was a 2-year fellowship, and then I got hired on, and I've been there ever since. I write for the business desk. I primarily cover labor, and now I also, since we had layoffs earlier this year, I also cover tourism. So, yeah, I think, yeah. I guess I should say that sort of early on, when I was doing more sort of general assignment reporting for the business desk, I covered a lot of tech news, a lot of gig economy news, and that during the pandemic, when I was still doing general assignment reporting, I naturally, what seemed to be the biggest story to me was frontline workers who were really the most at risk at that time, and so I really tried to tell their stories, and that's kind of how I got into labor reporting. Yeah.
Thank you, Shahla. Thank you very much. Now, the next person I'm going to introduce is right here. I don't know if you could see that. She came here and she immediately edited it. It was a mistake. She caught it. And she is one of our most senior copy editor at LA Times. Nothing passed without her, nothing passed through without her curious eyes, and she does the best job there. And Rubena, please take over and please tell them what your job roles are. So a lot of people don't understand exactly how media works.
Sure. Assalamualaikum, everybody. Thank you again for having all of us, and thank you to Irfan for setting this panel up. I am what's called a multi-platform editing lead at the Los Angeles Times, which is at other publications called a copy editor. So I'm basically a copy editing supervisor. I think copy editing is very mysterious to a lot of people, both inside and outside the newsroom. We just are like these mysterious editors that touch people's stories and ask all these questions. Among our duties is, yes, correcting spelling errors, going over grammar, making sure stories flow logically, they make sense, that they have no taste issues, there's not excessive profanity. That's just for the initial review of the story that we do. I work on what's called the morning copy desk. The Los Angeles Times has 4. We have the morning copy desk, the news copy desk, the features copy desk, and the sports copy desk. And after the layoffs, as Sahana mentioned, my job and the remaining copy editors' jobs got much more difficult, and we end up working on all of these 4 different desks, which we before had more areas of expertise, and now we're being called to be basically specialists in everything. So I do love the diversity of stories that I read. That is definitely a big perk of copy editing for me. I love the pace of the workday. It moves very quickly when we're working on the web. When I'm working for print, we are in charge of doing what's called display type. That's all the headlines. We write all the headlines. We write the captions on photographs, and we make sure stories fit. So there's lots of multi-parts to being a multi-platform editor. I started, I guess I should say, at the LA Times in 1998 in the Valley, which is when I met Irfan. My real life big brother's name is also Irfan, and I'm also considered Irfan Khan my work life big brother. I think for the longest time, Irfan and I were the only Muslims in the newsroom. And then, alhamdulillah, we had many others come. I actually created a channel in our Slack messaging system called Ummah to bring our Muslim journalists together. Unfortunately, those numbers it used to be much bigger, to be honest. You know, I mean, we've lost a lot of Muslim journalists at the Times, including Amira. So I've also been involved with the Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus and the Menasa Los Angeles Times. I recognized today that's half my life, so you can do the math. I'm hoping to make it to retirement.
Remember, I think you saw Javed, you started Desi channel also. We have a Desi channel also. That's what, fantastic. Me and Javed go. I mean, very memorable assignment we did together. And actually, it was his idea. He started asking about doing a story on Punjabi dhabas along the highways. And I jumped on it, and we arranged, and we said, why don't we ride a trucker? And we rode with a trucker. That was a best experience. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. And so that was such a good experience. And it was very well read story. And it was, I think, the top story of the day at that time. This was, and still is very popular. Punjabi truckers on the road. And that was a good experience. Javed, go ahead. Just give a brief sketch of yourself.
Do I turn this on? Okay. Hi, thank you. Thanks for having all of us. And I have to say it's unique to have a photographer, 2 writers, copy editor, somebody who works online on mobile applications all together. Usually
Should you start a newspaper?
Yeah. Usually you just get the writers sometimes in events. You're getting a whole bigger picture of me, I think. So I'm an education reporter at LA Times, and I mostly focus on universities, UCLA, USC, others throughout California. A lot of my coverage has been about politics and protest and free speech issues on campuses. That's been a big issue always, but especially this year. And prior to that, I was a national reporter covering national politics, presidential elections, immigration, some religion and cultural groups like Sikh truckers and Davas. I also was a correspondent based in London, covering European and UK news. So I've done a lot of different things within my 8 years at LA Times.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amira, Javed, Ruben, for saving me by coming here. Thanks a lot. And let me take a moment here. Everybody is talking about Arif Mansouri as the chairman of FOP, but I know him as a journalist. He's the one who saved Pakistan Link. You have to remember, as he said, ethnic papers are also very important. When we don't know, I've seen Pakistan Link when Faiz started it, and then it went through different hands, and we don't know, but thank you, Arif, you. So, he will give you a different perspective here. We are all working journalists. I'm retired now, but they are working, they get paid for it. He hires the journalist, he owns the media. So he might be able to tell you what are the difficulties he faced as an owner of a media. Don't think it's easy to run Pakistan Link. Maybe it's a small, maybe, but it has its own issues and problems which he has to watch and everything. And that's all I would say. One thing I must explain how the media has changed. When I started working for LA Times, it was 1989, and I remember 1990, the circulation for the LA Times was 1.5 million on Sunday, 1.2 million on regular days. Okay. Today, it's about 400,000, and that is combined digital and print. So keep in mind, the print media is going through really very, very tough time. So I'll end here, and I'll give it back to, I have a lot to talk, but I'll give it back to Arif Mansouri, and we'll talk from there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Irfan. That was awesome. And I greatly appreciate your kind words. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into the subject that we are going to discuss today, I would very quickly like to acknowledge some of the people. We have Ahmed Ali Saab. He just was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian NA, which is a big honor. So, Ahmed Ali Saab. Of course, we have Naim Siddiqui Saab. He's the main force behind our local NAD chapter. He's been donating to an Indian local chapter donates tuition fee for 80 students every year. And Naim Siddiqui Saab is a big part of that. Thank you so much. And of course, Nawaz Zafar Saab is a member of our organization. We are very proud of him and his all his work. We have Samir Farooqi Saab. I have Firoz Qasim and Yasmin Qasim Sahaba. Of course, Abda Sahaba, Alma Sahaba, Saman Mahmood, or Mary Afia Badakhshan. I have missed anybody here, Naida and Asad Barlas, Idris Saab. And sir, I would like you to stand and shake a bow. The most senior journalist here, Amar Khaja Saab, he's the editor of the Tribune. And we have a lot of very, very prominent dignitaries here. So, a big round of applause. Amar Khaja Saab is a writer of many books. He's the author of Faz and Faraz. He is a very, very well-known literary figure. He's managed and edited Urdu Link for so long. Thank you so much, Amar bhai. Grateful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would be saying, or I will share my thoughts on this subject before I ask my esteemed panelists to give me their opinions about this subject matter. So I'd like to, Irfan bhai introduced me a little bit. I'd like to just very briefly let me introduce myself so that you would know where I'm coming from. So I'm, by profession, I'm an engineer. I am an industrialist, owned a metal fabrication factory in Los Angeles. I'm a real estate investor, and my portfolio includes shopping centers, office buildings, apartment buildings, industrial buildings. But my passion is journalism. So I've owned, Pakistan Link, Urdu Link, which are the most prominent Pakistani American newspapers. Actually, the only English newspaper of Pakistani community is really Pakistan Link. So, thank you so much. I will give my perspective on this subject. The subject is about diversity in media. So this speech that I'm about to give you, I've given this at several universities to students. It's a very self-serving speech, and you would know what I'm talking about when I tell you this. So my thoughts on this subject about diversity. Diversity is very important, and let me explain why. This is the topic of my discussion. All media lies. Every media person, I'm not talking my esteemed panelists here, liars, but there was a show in 2000, Drake and Josh, there was a comment in there, are you calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther. So this is the bottom line. Every media lies. I'm talking about news media. They are liars. I am a liar. They are all liars. We are all liars. Do we intend to lie? No. We are telling the truth. But we are liars. And let me explain to you why. There are two factors that make us not be able to tell you the truth. And these are the two factors. Just bear with me for a few minutes. This is a small pen. Let's assume this is a small doll, a play doll, children's play doll. So I report to you that this is a small, petite, merely a 6-inch doll. Small, petite, merely 6-inch doll. Then I tell you, big, tall, almost a half-a-foot tall doll. When did I lie? Did I lie? This is half a foot. 6 inches, half a foot. This is a big, tall, almost a half a foot tall doll, and this is a petite, small, merely 6-inch doll. I'm telling the truth in either description, but do you see the message is diametrically opposite. The image I'm conveying, the report I'm sending you, is totally opposite. Description 1, description 2, describe the same situation. But my choice of words, there is an inherent lie in there. Am I lying? No, you cannot hold me responsible for using the words I choose. Item number 1, built-in lie. Number 2, let me give you an example. Let's assume that we are all looking at a truth, a universal truth. It's like Khuda ki Vahdaniyan, God is one, whatever, some issue, something that we are reporting on as journalists. All of us are journalists, let's assume. So let me ask you to do me a favor. Please look at my hand and describe to yourself what you're seeing. So please, in your mind, make a note of what you're seeing and what would you report if you were asked to report what you saw. Now, would you be surprised if my description is not the same as yours? This is the perspective. See, every person in this room would have a different perspective on this matter. See, this difference in perspective introduces, it distorts the truth. So you must have all heard of this story that happened, this incident happened in South, somewhere in Alabama, Georgia. There was this little child, a small child. It was being attacked by a dog, a vicious dog, a Rottweiler. So a man approached. Nobody was able to save the child. The dog was just really vicious. So this guy choked the dog and basically killed the dog because the dad won't let go of the child. So there was a reporter nearby. He came up and he patted this guy on the back and he said, "Hey, you are a brave man. See, tomorrow my newspaper, I'll tell you what the newspaper would, what the heading would be. It will say that a brave local guy killed the dog and saved the child." The guy said, "Well, thank you so much, but I'm not from around here. I'm from New York." So hey, there's not a problem. The news would say, "Damn Yankee brutally murdered family pet." See, both the journalist in both cases is well within their right to describe that situation as such. That was a brutal killing of a dog. But now he didn't say that that was to save the child's life. So these two elements introduce, the non-truth. See, so this is where my conclusion is. What do? You are the consumer of news. I am producing the news. I'm giving you the news as the news media. I'm a publisher. I am giving you the news. Now, it is your job. That's your job as a consumer of news to figure out what is the truth. Because if you listen to Fox, you would find nothing is wrong with the Republican Party. You listen to MSNBC, and you would find there is absolutely nothing wrong with the Democratic Party. Now, one has to be right. So how do you find out who's right? See, this is what you do. You read or get your news from different sources. Diversify. Don't just listen to one source of news. And that's how you can get to the bottom of the truth. Be diverse in use of news. So that's where I come up and tell you that, hey, read LA Times. It's a great paper, awesome paper. but also read Pakistani. See, that's when you would get the truth. Because you are responsible for finding the truth for yourself. And the only way you can get to the truth is this diversity in media. If you're just going and sticking with one media, you're not getting the truth. And I told you, none of us has lying. It's just that our choice of words, our perspective changes the truth. So if you really want to know what is true, then you have to pursue the truth. So that concludes my. So now I will just tell you the rules of this panel discussion. We have a couple of rounds of questions. I will ask question which each of the panelists would answer. There would be 2 rounds of questions like that, where I would put a question which each panelist would answer. Then the 3rd round is where we would have an individual question for each panelist that is really, specific to their area of expertise to some degree. The next round is open mic type of a thing where anybody who has a question would put a question. You can ask a specific panelist, or you can just ask all the panelists a question, and we'll see who wants to answer that. And then after that, we would have a couple of minutes for each panelist to summarize their thoughts and share their final, message with us.
Thank you.
So I would now begin with the first round, and I would start from you, Amira, on this side. So, I have a question for you though. I'm so sorry, I don't mean to get off track here, but I understand you know many languages, I understand. You're very well versed in many languages. So my question is, when you get really upset with somebody, what language do you use? So you can only curse in your own language. You can गाली देते हैं तो अपनी language में देते हैं, बाकी सारी बात कर सकते हैं. So what language is it that you really are?
Well, so I'm Pakistani. My parents are Pakistani, but I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia until I was 10. So my first 2 languages were at home were English and Urdu. I understood Punjabi obviously because of my parents, and every summer and winter we would go back to Pakistan to see all of my extended family who are still there, and I still see every year. So I knew Urdu, I knew Punjabi, I knew English. My parents, of course, cursed in Punjabi, but that's no surprise. So I still know all of those curse words. I don't use them as much, but then it was Arabic because of the schooling in Saudi Arabia. So that's where I picked up those languages. And I'm the youngest in my family, and I don't know if you have this as well in yours, but my mom calls me her American child. So, because I have been in this country the longest, I think. And so, English, but every time I go back to Pakistan, my whole family tells me not to talk when we go shopping or order food or anything, because they're like, first you're gonna embarrass us. Second, they're gonna tell immediately, you're not from here, and they're gonna jack up all the prices for anything you want. So it's a combination, I think when I'm joking with my family, it's Punjabi and Urdu, but otherwise it's English, so.
Good answer. Okay, so this is a question for each of the panelists. You have up to maximum of 3 minutes to answer this. So the question is, what inspired you to join the media field, and what message would you give to others in our community who would wish to pursue a career in this industry? So Amira, would you please begin?
Sure.
Would you pull the mic because a lot of people can't hear you. Bring it forward.
I decided to become a journalist in high school. It was in Texas after my family moved from Saudi Arabia to Austin, Texas. And I was part of the high school newspaper, and it just gave me a good example of being able to talk to everybody at the school who weren't necessarily my friend circle, which in that school was primarily all the nerds and my Muslim So it kind of started from there, and I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew I wanted to go to UT Austin, which has a great journalism program. And it kind of just started from there, honestly. My degree was in print journalism, which does not exist anymore, which is sad. But it just kind of, I wanted to be able to tell people stories that were not my own. And I knew that, you know, I had a very specific life experience of living in the Middle East, growing up there, and also honestly thinking I was Arab for the first like 7 years of my life, but also realizing that I have a Pakistan connection and I have family there and I know the language, and so it was realizing that I wanted to use those life experiences in a newsroom eventually, you know, in college, being able to talk to people. I think it worked out nicely.
Thank you. And I'll get my mic to Bob next time. Thank you. Yeah, my beginning, I guess, was also in high school. You don't have to start then, but that's when I began. High school newspaper. My high school, I think there are two things. One was more practical-ish, even though that sounds odd for being a journalist to make it practical. But I just felt pressure to apply to a major at college and find some career I could latch onto. And the only thing I was doing in high school that like I could see transferring was journalism, because the rest was English and math and so on and so forth. But also in my high school, I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. area, and I was in high school during 9/11. So I had friends or classmates whose parents died in the Pentagon, or as well, you know, people who were South Asian or Muslim or other cultures who experienced discrimination against them or prejudice, which you've heard that from many people from that time onwards. So I think between those two things, I like thought there was a space for writing, storytelling, reporting, and I was lucky to win a scholarship in journalism, which is focused on adding diverse voices to media. And through that, I was able to get lots of training and internships and things like that kind of helped guide me, because getting your foot in the door is always the hardest part.
Sure, I was just saying, I come from a family of largely doctors and engineers, not unusual for South Asian families. My mom is an OB-GYN, my dad is a trained industrial engineer. And they're both the eldest of all their siblings. All of their siblings went into medicine or engineering, except for one who became a teacher. So there was certainly a hope, if not an expectation, that I would also go into a STEM career. And for a long while, I did think that I would pursue medicine, but I'm also a middle child, and there's something in us that just insists on going against the grain. And I always loved reading. It's still probably the one thing I enjoy doing more than anything. My eyesight has definitely suffered for it, I think. And I spent a lot of time in the library. As a kid, I grew up in New Jersey. Before we moved to California, I was 10 years old when we moved to California. My first time being published was in the Leonia Public Library's newsletter called The Little Purple Leopard. I'm certain I still have a copy of that newsletter. It was the first time I got bit by the journalism bug. I think I was 8, 9 years old. Just the thrill of seeing my byline in print. The reaction of people who had read my story. It was just very exciting for me, and I continued getting bit over the years. I worked on school publications in elementary school and middle school and high interned at the Fullerton Observer when I was in college. In college, I also worked on various publications, was the editor-in-chief of Asian American Pacific Islander publication for 5 colleges. I went to Claremont so some of the Claremont colleges. And so when it came time to pick a career, it seemed that I had carved a path for myself in journalism, but I actually ended up applying to law schools. And just by luck, I was offered a position in a fellowship program that was run by the former Times-Mirror newspaper group. This was a larger newspaper chain once upon a time, which included the Los Angeles Times, Newsday, Hartford Courant, Baltimore Sun, Allentown Morning Call, Stanford Advocate. All of these papers are Times-Mirror no longer exists. Los Angeles Times, as you may know, is owned by a physician and is no longer affiliated with these other publications. Yes, so I was offered a position through this training program called MetPro, Minority Editorial Training Program, which has now morphed into the Los Angeles Times Fellowship. It's the same program that Sahana had referenced earlier. As far as inspiration for what really got me first interested in journalism, I have to credit my uncle. And when I say uncle, it was actually a blood relative. My mom's first cousin was a gentleman named Muhammad Abdul Hamid, who started the first Muslim weekly in the United States. It was a publication called The Minaret, which was based out of New York. Munim Uncle is someone who's had a huge impact in my life. For many years, he was the only Muslim journalist that I knew. So we had many conversations about the responsibility of being a Muslim in the United States and explaining Islam. This was all pre-9/11 when I think it became just obvious. But even in the early 90s when I was just starting college, the World Trade Center bombing had happened. I think that was in 1993, so there was already this big stereotype of Muslims being only terrorists, and people just didn't know about Islam at all at that time. So it needed to be explained in not a proselytizing way. We're not out to convert you or anything like that, but just needed to be explained in a way so that people understand Muslims, they respect Muslims, and it became a situation not of something you vaguely know about, but that you actually know Muslims in your life, and that means putting yourself out there. It's not an easy thing to do. If there's a message that I convey to young people who are interested in going into journalism, I encourage you 100% to please try it. You may find it's not for you. It is a difficult job, especially in this economic environment where newspapers are closing left and right. It's very difficult to get a job. It's very difficult to stay in the industry, but it is important work, and there's still a dearth of Muslim journalists, and we just need to have more of us representing us.
I think I'll let Sahana speak first. You go ahead, please.
Hi, I think there are some common experiences, I think, among Muslim journalists who enter the field, and I've heard from a lot of others how sort of seeing how 9/11 changed the environment, or growing up as I did, basically in the post 9/11 environment, just really much, very much like informs how you operate as a person, and then I think is like an underlying dynamic as to why I became a journalist. I don't think I necessarily connected that at the time, but I grew up going to mostly like white schools. I felt that I had a different perspective. I first joined like my middle and high school newspapers because I liked to read, and it seemed like writing was something I might like to do if I liked to read, but then kind of quickly realized that I had strong opinions. I wanted to write about things that I felt were unjust, and I think that's kind of why I kept doing it, I joined my college newspaper. It kind of was my whole life in college, and I actually didn't really consider a career in journalism. That just didn't really seem like an option. It was always presented like I don't think I grew up in a family or in like an environment where that was just like a viable career. It's like people know like writing is kind of a difficult career path. There's as Ravina mentioned, there's you know, journalism is always kind of presented as this like dying industry. So I actually thought like I would probably go to law school. My dad really wanted me to go to law school or get a major in computer science or something. But when I was in college, I just didn't really do anything else. So then it kind of became the natural career path for me.
We are very short of time. I just briefly tell you, in my career, I became a photographer initially as a necessity or as a need. I was brought up in Lahore. I went to a military school, Garrison High School, and I was a pretty decent student there. I was doing very serious about everything, but then we moved to Karachi, and that Karachi spoiled me, and so that's what happened, you know. Became very non-serious and all that, and you know, in Pakistan, when I was growing up, I don't know what the situation now, you dream for being a CS, you do CSP, what's called it? Civil service thing, you go to civil service, or you become a doctor, or engineer, something like that. And I was a bad student, I could not do that. And somewhat a rebellion and all those things, and I said, okay. And my parents might kick me out, so I better, how will I live? So I said, I will learn some skill. And that's how opportunity arrived. Pakistan Design Center was established with the help of Swiss government, and I was the first employee there. And that's where they learned photography, and then from there, luckily, I don't know, I never applied, I never told. Some people came from Dubai. I was just 21 years old, and they say they're establishing Ogilvy and Mathers, an American agency in Dubai, and they heard about my name. I was very young. I think I was different when in the crowd there of photographers there. So they took me to Dubai. I didn't even know what the currency of Dubai was there. I had no clue, no idea. But that's another story. I went there, and then the production. They stopped the production. I'm rushing it up, so save time. I got into Khaleej Times, and that's where this journalism bug got to. And I love it. I don't think so. If there is a dusra janam, I'll do the same thing because I love it so much. It's such a fine profession. It just fits my nature. I want to see places. I want to meet people. I want to report. As she explained, that I'm not just a photographer, I want to be a journalist, I want to report, I want to talk about it. So that's what helped me, and that's how I came and ended up in America. A lot of people telling me, why you're leaving Dubai, you have such a cushy job, you have everything, but I didn't see a future for my children over there. Mashallah, I have 4 daughters, 2 of them like sitting here. So I said, no, I want to go to America where I have a better future for my daughters, where they can get good education. That brought me to America. And how I ended up LA Times. Everybody, they all went to colleges here, American colleges. They all have journalism degrees or some kind of degrees. I didn't have anything. I have a simple Karachi University graduation degree. That's it. I cannot even show it to anybody. It's a 3rd division. So, and I did it because. I did it because my father told me, shame on you, your sister has become graduate and you are not. So I went and appeared for 2 years together, so I got a degree. So I have a degree. Okay, so fast forward to America, here I came, I don't know anybody. Everybody I meet here, Pakistanis, they are doctors, engineers, or they own a 7-Eleven, they are because and we are talking about building a $2 million home, $3 million home. So I was so misfit with 3 little kids. I'm like, what can I do? And I'm listening and I'm looking. So anyway, so I went to a very small paper here, and they said, oh, your work is very good, you better go to LA Times. How can I tell them, look, I'm penniless, I'm broke, I have 3 little kids, please give me a job. And the guy said, no. He said, no, you are a very good photographer and we pay only $255 a week. You should get at least $800 or $1,000. And how can I tell him that, look, I need something here. And you know, you'll be amazed that I didn't have a proper portfolio. You are a journalist from Dawn, huh? You wrote for Dawn. I forgot your name, but I've seen you. You know, I have the tear sheets. I have several tear sheets. So anyway, he believe me, he was the only guy. God bless him. Tom D. He was the photo director. God bless him. I mean, we in America, they talk about, I don't want to say things that people buy so-and-so a day, so-and-so a day, they won't give you a job. No, he's the one who wrote. No phones, no emails, nothing. He wrote me a letter. He said, I'll give you the direct line of John Adams, who was the director of photography at LA Times. My wife, everybody's there, they don't know. For 2 months, not long, 2 months, every day, I will call that number, every day. And I leave my name. This is my name. I'm from Middle East, and this is my please. I want to see you. Sometime his secretary, Debbie Winder, would pick up. I leave a message. Never. He never took the call. Never leave voicemails. And then one day, one lucky day, he picks up the phone, and he said, "Is this Irfan?" And you know, he heard my accent, and he pronounced my name. Not some people say Ilfan, some say Alfan, they all pronounce, but he pronounced my name perfectly. I said, my God, this guy was listening to my message. So he said, okay, when do you want to see me? I said, right now. He said, how about tomorrow? I said, okay, tomorrow. He said, tomorrow 11 o'clock. I went there and I spread it. He took me to the newsroom. And remember, I don't have an American degree, no journalism, nothing. And this old newsroom, you don't remember, it would be, so they spread the tear sheets, and I'm sitting on one of the table corner, I'm sitting, and all the editors there, all the photo editors, some other photographers looking on the floor, and I could see that they're looking at me, not what is there, because they have never met a person with my name, or anybody from Pakistan, I think they have never. He wrote a number, he said, go to Valley. Whenever we started, Perry Dill was the editor, called him, I went there, and I said, I said, give me one assignment. Give me one assignment, and I'll show you what I can do. And he gave me. So you know, you come from Pakistan, where film is very expensive. In America, they used to shoot film, roads. I was from Pakistan, one little camera, one flight, and my first assignment was CFO of HealthNet in Woodland Hills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I went there, took a portrait, one flash, and everything came back. They put the strip on, the editing. He asked the other assistant photo editor, Joe, what do you think? He said, he knows what he's doing. That's how I started in LA Times.
Irfan, you told me 50 years ago that you became a photographer because you love to work in the dark rooms.
No, I
50 years ago, we were crossing.
I think you misheard. I said I learned in the dark room. By the way, my daughter Mavish is there, and she said, my youngest daughter, she's there, and Sarah is here sitting my other. She said, Abu, did you make notes? What are you going to talk about? I said, sorry, I cannot speak with the notes. And he said, please give chance others to speak.
Thank you so much. So that was very inspiring. Everyone in the show is very inspiring stories, and you know what I'm hearing is the message for the community is, you know, this is an important work, and just get involved with it. And like Irfan Saab said, you know, I won't do anything other than this. If I had to, you know, choose my career profession again, I would do it again. And I'll tell you, this is the same for me also. So I'll tell you this, the Reader Digest editor said this, and this is true in my case. So as you know, I have written lots of articles in Pakistan Link and other publications and Urdu Link, and I have had a television show on ARY digital television for quite some time. I ran my Mansoori show. I interviewed lots of very important dignitaries. But through this media, I have met and come across such brilliant, such important people. I'm not talking about rich, I'm talking about really, really super genius people. Through this media, through this platform, I have had the privilege of meeting such great people. Otherwise, somebody of my, somebody like me, a small guy, there was no way I could have met these people. And so I really attribute to the media for opening the doors. And so these journalists will agree with me, I'm pretty sure, this is the profession they have chosen because they have passion for it. So if you have passion. So now I'm going to move to the second question, but I'd like to just acknowledge very quickly our volunteers. Mustaqim Saab, we can't finish any setup of our organization unless Mustaqim Bhai is here. That's very nice. Of course, we have Nina Sahaba from Nidin Sahab. We have, I think, Amar Siddiqui Sahab, thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Farhana, thank you for joining us. I have so many people to thank, but because of the short time, I will move to, you turned off my light, now it won't look that feel compacted and I can read. Okay, never mind. I would like to request if you would take not a close-up of the speakers, but a long shot. Thank you so much. So my next question for each of the panelists, and we will start from the other end. Sohana, we will start from you. The question is, what challenges, if any, did you face due to your background, heritage, or ethnicity? And if you did, how did you overcome them? And it's for this, for each panelist, you have 3 minutes, please.
Yeah. I think that I think I'm lucky to have not had too much difficulty, all things considered, entering sort of the field. As the fellowship program I mentioned that Rubina also did, it is like a diversity fellowship that served as like a hiring pipeline to the LA Times for people of color, and I happened to get that. And, that's really lucky. That doesn't happen for a lot of people. But I think generally, the sentiment that I got in the field was that when I was in college and maybe even before college, was that I had to present a certain way. You couldn't be seen as sort of like, you couldn't be too Muslim. I feel like that's like a general sort of, it felt like I had to be more contained, and I think especially we're talking now, I think that's something in sort of like a post-October 7th environment, and like a post-9/11 environment, it's something that's come up lot of pressure to conform to a certain version of what objectivity is in working in a mainstream newsroom. And so I think that's generally a struggle to overcome. I think sometimes it feels like you need to shrink a bit who you are. So yeah, I'll just leave it vaguely at that.
You know, if I say in my 35 years of career in Times, I have not faced any institutional biases or any difficulties or anything like that. But of course, there are, it's life, a few jerks in your life, and being from Karachi, I know how to handle them, and I handle them very well. So, but I'll tell you, my ethnicity, I used it as my strength, you know. Initially, I felt weak. I used to shy away. But then I noticed that this could be my strength, and I used it. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I mean, I can't feel straight just talking to myself how good or bad, how I did. They're all sitting here. I think I was among the only photographers in the LA Times who gave the highest number of column stories. Who originated by me. And alhamdulillah, for that reason, a lot of editors have a great regard for me. And in my 35 years, once I gained this mission, they never ever rejected my idea and refused it, and how tough it was. So I'll talk about it later. I don't want to take too much time. But no, I had a great time, great ride, believe me, fantastic. LA Times, fantastic for me. Thank you.
I'm going to say that, like probably every field, there is sexism and racism in journalism. I think that, you know, people promote people who look like them, who think like them. I think that's just human nature. I think that definitely happens at any number of publications. But overall, I will say my experiences as a Muslim woman have been an asset rather than a liability. Like Irfan was saying at the LA Times, I've been, you know, throughout the time of my employment, used as a resource for questions about Islam, you know, when translation issues come up. If something's in Arabic or Urdu or Hindi, you know, I can help out with that. You know, I mean, it can be something as when we did a story last year on Shah Rukh Khan's blockbuster year with Pathan and Jawan, and Pathan has a song called Sharam Rang, and they had incorrectly said that Muslims were offended by this song number, which featured the actress in an orange bikini. And, you know, I mean, it just meant that, you know, I had to step up and say, actually, it's the Hindus who have a problem with that, because, you know, in Hinduism, orange, the saffron color, is affiliated with spirituality. It's the top band of the Indian flag. So just having, you know, that base of knowledge, which is like, you know, something so mindless for us, but people in the newsroom don't know these things. So to just be there as a source of that sort of information, a source of story ideas. I remember I pitched a story about the first Muslim mayor in Teaneck, New Jersey. Was the first Muslim mayor in the United States. We have others now. Yeah, I would say, again, generally, you know, it has been an asset. I've written a few times for the Los Angeles Times. My role is predominant, by far, is editing. But I have written about my experiences going on Hajj, and I wrote just otherwise. It's unfortunately a part of the job. And I mean, I have it in a very limited capacity. People who write more often, I'm sure deal with it far more than I have. So as far as how you cope with it, I mean, it's still, a process, still living it. So.
So I have a couple thoughts. I also don't think I've really experienced like a lot of institutional locks on me because of my background or ethnicity or such, race. But like Irfan said, sure, there's some like offensive people here and there, every job you encounter. And I certainly like Rebecca just because of my name or face, all whenever my name, get all kinds of hate. I could write about just, apple pie and call a terrorist. So it happens all the time. I've gotten so used to it that it's just part of me every day. And I'm perceived as very biased sometimes just because of, without even saying it sometimes, when I approach people for reporting things. But I've gotten used to it. I know how to handle it. I think also, I was thinking this question, journalism, it's a risky business. It's a risky thing to become a journalist in any kind of role. It isn't paid that much. The job is sometimes unstable. A lot of journalists, come from backgrounds where they have a lot of support. You see politicians, their kids become TV journalists, or especially on the East Coast. I worked there for a long time in New York and Miami. You come across a lot of colleagues who just come from very nice backgrounds, which allow them to kind of take this risk. So I'm not from that kind of background. So I've certainly noticed that difference and that challenge over my career. And I would also just add to the positives. The way I got my first job was in a fellowship as well for 1 year at the Miami Herald out of college. I had no subject area covered. It was everything: crime, politics, plastic surgery, nightclubs, everything, food. And there was a Pakistani group kind of like this one that just noticed me. And they said, please come meet us. They were so hungry for some coverage of their communities. I met them, and through them I met all the imams in the region. I met all the big leaders. They all gave me so many contacts. And I did the most basic stories for them to begin with. I wrote about Ramadan. I just wrote people are fasting. And they do that every year. And it was the most simple story. But my colleagues at the paper were so impressed. But they'd written that before. And from there, eventually I got the job to be a religion reporter. They said, oh, you can cover this one holiday. Do all of it. And I had that role for multiple jobs for 8 years. And that's how I eventually came to LA Times. So, the background and the heritage cuts both ways.
Yeah, I think to echo what everybody was saying earlier, I don't think I had any challenges being a Muslim American female journalist. Any of my jobs, I will say, I think probably until I got to the LA Times, I was the only Muslim female journalist in the newsroom. So that felt like it could be a challenge, but it actually made me just feel like I could share my viewpoints, I could share my diverse perspective where, what I've lived, what kind of stories I want to tell, and, like to echo what you said, one of my first jobs was working as a City Hall reporter in Merced, California, in the Central Valley, straight out of grad school. And it was because the editor was in my grad school class, and he saw me asking all these questions about his paper and his life, etc. He was an editor of a small paper, and I ended up being on his staff of 7 journalists. But he hired me because I think he knew that I was a good journalist, and he also knew that I was Muslim. Like, he had been to Iraq, he had embedded with the AP, he had been a foreign correspondent with Wall Street Journal, so he knew that, oh, there are Muslim journalists that exist everywhere, like, we should have them on staff. And so that was the beginning of just having, obviously reaffirm my love for our craft and our industry, but it was like Javed said, you know, when I got to Merced, like, the imams found me on LinkedIn, were like, oh my gosh, you're here, like, Ramadan and Eid, and you know, the Sikh, because there's so many Sikh farmers, obviously, in the Central Valley, they all immigrated there because, you know, like, it's the same type of soil as in India, and you can grow crops and stuff, and like, I think one of the mayors of the towns nearby was also Sikh, and so they're like, okay, we have all these like other religious, you know, Hindu festivals, you're gonna cover it. So it turned into just a really great experience of covering all different types of communities that were not just my own. So I didn't really necessarily feel that otherness, maybe prior to that, but since Merced, I probably haven't felt, you know, any problems or issues or feeling like I'm that one brown person in the newsroom and what is she gonna say, or, you know, is she gonna be a problem or something? So that really hasn't happened, so.
Mike, thank you so much. So, you know, wonderful answers, and I really appreciate it. And if I could sum this up, so overall, what I'm hearing is there is no institutional discrimination or bias, but individuals, you know, there are stupid people everywhere. You find them, you know. So, yeah, but nevertheless, you know, there is certainly, you cannot be too Muslim, and you have to shrink yourself sometimes, and that makes sense. You know, we need to fit into the mainstream society. So my personal opinion or my personal experience, I've been in this country about 2/3 of my life. I have not faced.
So 10 years?
About 8, roughly, give or take, a few decades. So the discrimination or whatever, see, I think if you look for it, you find it. If you go looking for it, you'll find it. So if you're not that thin skin, you'll be okay. So you just need to really, be tolerant and understanding. We are living in a society which may not be following Islam. So nevertheless, I have the request to.
Can I take this?
I'm asked to speed things up because people are starting to get angry because they.
I just want
to
add something.
Thank you so much.
I mean, here I want to make sure that people don't get discouraged about not taking part in journalism. Please go in, and you can use your ethnicity and everything to do the story. And I have done it. Everybody did it. I just remember he mentioned about Ramadan. We have to do a different way. I try to pitch stories of Ramadan in a different way, rather than saying the Muslim do this. No. Once I took a story as a date business, how the date business works, and that was a page 1 story, and I was just reading the headline on the above fold. It was, during Ramadan, every night is a date night. So, that was a very catchy. You wrote it? You did it? She did it. So, please, don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. So now we have 2 more rounds of questions. So this round is individual questions, and I will request my panelists to please be brief if you possibly can. So Javed Karim Saab, I will start with you. So given your experience reporting on campus activism and civil rights, how does media representation impact these movements, and why are diverse voices important in telling these stories?
Thank you. Well, the main campus activism that I report on is around Israel and Palestine. And that's been the main campus activism. I don't need to tell you, you've seen it. Around the country, around the world. So when you were giving your example, actually, of the pen and the 6-inch doll and the half-foot doll, that's really what it's about. It's about the word choice. You can describe the same events, the same news happening in the Middle East, or the same things happening in your backyard, and use entirely different words, and people will interpret them in very different ways. So that's how I think of representation. And that's exactly what we're learning about. So that's something that I have to pay very close attention to, as well as be very thoughtful about all the time.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful answer. How about a big round of applause? And thank you for being brief. I appreciate that. Next question is for Rubina Azhar Sahaba. With your experience as a staff writer and platform editing lead, how does diverse representation influence editorial decisions, and what impact does it have on the stories that reach the public?
Sure. So I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of what Javed was saying. Journalism at its core is about seeking the truth, and you can't know the truth without getting as complete a picture of the story as possible. And a big part of that is having people on staff who know about a wide scope of things. So, definitely not limited to just religion, but in terms of, various heritages, ethnicities, sexual orientation, geography, different parts of the country, of the world. We have a shortage in the newsroom of knowledge about the military. We have nobody, I think, on staff who's served in any of the armed services. So my department, again, the copy desk, we're responsible for establishing Times style. The word choices that Javed is talking about. This is something that we watch for in every single story we edit, and my desk edits every single department. We have sports, national, foreign, business, features. We do op-ed also. Style is a hugely encompassing thing. It's everything from deciding how to abbreviate state capitals to, how are you going to render when Donald Trump calls Haiti a shithole country? Are you going to use that whole word? Are you going to, somehow dash it out? How are you going to present background in a story? It establishes the framework for how the reader is going to interpret the story. And of course, we want to be as absolutely fair as we possibly can. I just wanted to give you a couple of examples of style changes at the Los Angeles Times that I have been involved in. One was just, how do we spell Quran? For many years, we spelled Quran K-O-R-A-N, and I get transliteration is a difficult thing, but you have to take into consideration how Muslims are transliterating it, and I don't want it. My Arabic is very bad. I don't want to be, but the difference between Qaf and Kaf. So we started rendering after years of debate that we would start spelling Quran with a Q. Another more recent style change that I have been involved with is how do we render Arabic surnames. Again, for years we would strip L and Al from people's names routinely. If your name is, for example, Yasmin El Shahab, the LA Times would change that to make it more Americanized, Yasmin Shahab. This is a person's name. How can you just go in and say, you don't know how to spell your own name, we're going to change it for you? It was frankly racist, style rule. And again, it took years to change, but we have, thankfully, finally dropped that practice. These things don't happen in vacuums. We need the Muslims on staff lobbying for these changes constantly, and it's an uphill battle. it into the newspaper or onto the website without Muslims and other people who are interested in representing the war as fairly as possible, pushing for the changes. So yeah, just one last example I wanted to give was, you all know the singer Sinead O'Connor. When she died, we did not mention in the first draft of the obit that she was a practicing Muslim. At the end of her life, she had adopted a Muslim name, and the obit made mention of that. We had, in addition to myself at that time, we had a Muslim managing editor who is no longer with the paper, but with her backing, I was able to go in and add the context of her conversion, add a photo of her in hijab performing. So those are changes that all happen behind the scenes, so that there is, in many newsrooms, a push to represent Muslims fairly.
Sorry to interrupt you. This is a good example. What she's saying here, that what you call it, diversity. What was that? Inclusion matters. This is what it is. What goes behind, nobody knows. That's what Muslim journalists sitting behind, doing inside. I know we are short of time, but it is very important here that they are the brave people inside fighting for this thing, and they do make change.
This is very good answer. That basically, that answers the question why representation matters. So the next up, I have Amira Baksaiba. I have the question for you. With your background in audience engagement and multilingual editing across diverse topics, how do you think diverse representation enhances audience connections and trust in media?
My job right now primarily deals with a lot of social media posts and different platforms, as well as language that goes out on everybody's phones for breaking news and other, long reads and investigations. And I have always come at my job with the sense of, asking myself a few questions, which is, what is the language here? So always being really sensitive about the words that I'm using, or the words that I'm even thinking about using, and does this mean something different for me versus someone else out there in the public, our readers, our listeners. And at NPR there have been examples where we've changed headlines to make it just seem a little more sensitive, keeping it in mind that there is a sensitivity to what we do when it comes to word choice, like Rubina said and Javed said, and just recognizing that I do have a viewpoint, I have a life that I've lived, I have a certain bias, I'm sure just like everyone else does in media, so you can't escape that now. I feel like everyone, wherever you're coming from, you have a certain expectation and a bias. But to remember that, you should still be really sensitive about the language and about the word choice. And I think especially this year and the past few years, in a post 9/11 world, I would say too, it's been a bit of a mountain to get over. But I think it's getting better with obviously like everything that Rubina is doing at the LA Times. But single-handedly, no, with the Ummah group, I'm sure, and everybody else. But it just matters, like having a Muslim voice, having someone who is an Arab journalist, someone anybody. It just adds to the diversity of the newsroom. It adds to the voices that you have in the newsroom. It's not a vacuum, I think that's I think that's what matters,
Very good. Thank you so much. next I will ask Irfan Khan Sahab aapse, having used your photography to tell often overlooked stories across the US and the world, how do you see diverse representation influencing the narrative that visual journalism can bring to life?
Well, we are short of time. I mean, I have done many stories, so I'll be very short about it. You know, when they were having a 20th anniversary of 9/11, there is a message went out among the staff to pitch in for the story ideas, so we can do a good story about it. So I pitched in to do a story about Muslim youths. They are facing the biases when they were not even born when 9/11 happened. So to my surprise, I found out that was accepted, and that was the story. That was the first story we did. That was it. And I faced a lot of difficulty in getting the youths to speak. And unfortunately, you know, here I must say that I talked to boys, girls, youth, and I found out boys are idiots. Girls were very nice. So then I went with only girls, and it was a page-one story. Again, while we were talking, I was searching for it, and it published, and it says Muslim youth in America, a generation shadowed by aftermath of 9/11. That was again a full story with a double spread inside. So yes, it matters. It all depends. I think we are all journalists, and we know we are in minority. It depends how we pitch the story. That's very important. You should forget about your Muslim, Pakistani, Indian, whatever it is. No, the story has a value. You should understand the story value, and you should know how to pitch the story. If the pitch is right, believe me, nobody will refuse. That's all I say.
Suhana Hussain, Sahaba, this question is for you. With your experience covering California labor issues across major publications, how does media representation influence public understanding of labor rights, and why is diversity important in reporting these stories?
So I think unions themselves are increasingly becoming more diverse. I think a lot of the perceptions of unions are often, like a white man in a construction hat, but I think increasingly unions and their leadership are people of color, are women, and because of that, the issues that they tend to address are also more diverse. Like they focus on benefits like parental leave and protections around sexual assault. And so I think in that vein, I think when you have a journalist who is from like a marginalized background or from a different background, the coverage, I think, too, of labor issues can be more expansive. And I guess there are also parts of labor that are not maybe in traditional unions, but which are workforces that deserve to be covered, like immigrant Uber and Lyft drivers, and yeah, that's the one at the top of my head. But I think it definitely helps to have a journalist who's thinking about groups that maybe aren't traditionally thought about. So yeah.
Thank you so much. This is the end of round 3. Now the next round is we will have audience questions. And Abida, would you please grab a couple of these mics? We will share the mics. We are having problems with our mics. See, this one is working. We will just share over here. I think that's not working.
I think this might need a battery.
So if you would please grab, yeah. this one is working, and we'll share this over here. So due to the shortage of time, we will be limiting the number of questions from the audience, and you can ask a general question.
So I have a general question for you. Can you guys hear me? So how about give a round of applause for these great guests of ours. So I have one question. Will this tonight story would come in LA Time, yes or no? And if yes, good. If no, explain me why not. Tell me, any of you. All are experienced people.
No, good question. Okay.
Where is the daughter? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead, sir.
No, very good question. Believe me, as in our profession say there is no wrong question.
There's no wrong question.
Oh, there's no wrong. Very good question. You have to understand, and I think Arif Masuri will understand more because he owns the media. The thing is that you have to look at the readership, what the readership is interested in, okay? Because you have to market, sell the newspaper, you have to sell the news. So we are in a very small number. The interest is not there yet, okay? That's why I said, how you pitch the story. I mean, if I have to sell this story, if I know beforehand, I would have pitched the story in a different way. Now, so it's possible you can get published, but if you tell me that you will have a photographer, a camera, a reporter, everybody covering this thing, that a couple of Pakistani journalists taking and talking about it, I doubt it this way. But it depends how you pitch the story. And so you have to give a little thought about it. It can be, but not this way, like if you say, now do it, no.
So I have to own Los Angeles Time now?
No, you don't have to own Los Angeles.
Go ahead. Anybody else wants to take a shot on this? I want to hear you out.
I will answer that. So this is how it works in the media. If the dog bites the man, it ain't a story. But if the man bites the dog, that becomes a story.
So we have to come and bite you all?
So the story has to be interesting for the media to cover it. And just like Irfan Khan Saab said, this is for LA Times, may not be, but for Pakistan Link it's very important story. This is what Pakistan Link thrives on, community news. So for LA Times we need to do things that will the appetite of LA Times.
So Arif, with apologies, let me hear from you too. I want these young people to answer. I know the answer from Irfan Saab, Arif Saab, I have heard it 100 times. I want you all to give me the answer. I want to hear it from you. The young people. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, maybe I can twist the question, maybe, or in a way. As a reporter, what if I'm looking at the crowd and learning about the group? What I see is different people that I can interview and learn about their expertise, their communities, their stories. So I don't think everyone here is, well, probably you're Pakistani in background, but doesn't mean you're all the same. Different professions, different parts of California. I've heard there's ethnic media journalists and owners here. I've heard there was maybe an academic. I've heard other people of different kinds. I met a school board member. I cover education. So I think the group seems to have a lot of smart voices. And you could be a resource for journalists like myself.
And we are very loud as well. So
yeah.
Go ahead, let my Kashmiri friend answer this.
No, I would kind of piggyback on what Javed was saying, but there's a big community of South Asians, Muslims, Indian Americans, Pakistani Americans, not just in Southern California, but also in America now. And this country has always been the country that has welcomed immigration. There has been a lot of struggle with each and every immigrant group as it came to this country. And I think, as a community, we still have our struggles. We still have things we have to overcome. Just speaking about communities that I've come from, I went back home to visit Texas last week, and my local mosque now has programs for the women who are single parents, women who have experienced domestic
You're doing the media thing. You're just taking me somewhere else. I'm asking you straight question, yes or no, and what it will take for you to write this. That's it. Don't tell me Doc Tony Show, I've seen it enough.
No, it's to what Javed said, everybody has an opinion and everybody has a story to tell. And I think there's a way to tell everyone's story in a way that's not necessarily me, writing about all of this today. Like, I could take aspects of this and turn it into something, sure, but it has to be more nuanced.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Someone, you have a question?
Yeah, let me ask.
Anyone can answer any of them. Would you stand and ask the question? Sure. So we have someone, Mahmood, please ask your question.
Well, any of the panelists can answer this. The question is, do you think that the American media at this time is biased towards minorities and different ethnic groups?
Anyone that wants to respond to this? Who would like to take this question? The question is the mainstream media biased against the different minorities?
That's the answer, yes. Definitely.
Yeah, the short and simple answer is yes, definitely. Because the climate, today's climate, we all know about it. But the problem is that I will ask you, what are your expectations? See, as a reader, as an audience, what are your expectations? Because we are thinking about an overnight change. You want it to change tomorrow morning. You want to change it. It's not going to happen. That's why we are here talking. Please come and become part of media so you can have some clout, you can have some say, you can do that, and then it will be more effective. And again, whatever we are doing, it all depends how we pitch the story. Minority stories can go in, but all depends how you pitch that story.
Thank you. Okay, next question from Al-Zansab.
Ji, Assalamualaikum. This is not a political question, and you don't have to be political about it.
I can't see you. Can you come
I'll
up?
be there, please.
From last couple of days, we are hearing some hoopla about Washington Post and LA Times not saying that they're not going to endorse any of the presidential candidates. And I heard that some of the editors, they resigned from either side. So what do you think? What's going on? Why it's happening like that? Any one of you?
I don't know what it is. I have an answer. Wait, this week. I don't know.
She has.
I think, I don't think any of us can say for sure. I think one of the big issues is we don't quite know, and that's one of the reasons our union has asked the owner to sort of give an explanation for why he chose to pull the endorsement last minute. I know there's been conflicting accounts of why that endorsement was pulled. His daughter says that the family made a joint decision to not endorse either of the presidential candidates because of Harris's current role in Israel's war in Gaza, and then on the flip side of that, Patrick Soon-Chong, the owner, he says that the war does not have a role in that, and he's also sort of been accused of wanting to be able to preserve his business interests under sort of a Trump administration, that sort of thing. So I think the short answer is we don't know. And I think that's all I really can
Thank you.
I just want to add to what she said is that you have to notice one thing. The owners of LA Times and Washington Post, they have opposed their editorial board and decided everything. But look at the freedom. All the 3 editors resigned, all the reporters, guild members, everybody is against their owners, and they have voice It came in the paper, it's on social media everywhere. So people can talk about it and people said it, but now they are the owners. I don't know, we have only one owner here of the media. He can tell you how many stories he stops.
Thank you so much. So I would just take one last question. We will, after that, have a summation by each of the panelists. So this is the last question. Dr. Farhana Mohammed, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, my question is that when it's a little bit combined to what we are saying today, it's kind of important, like how you guys survived. So when I was in UCLA doing my MBA, so the dean over there said 15 years ago that print media is going to be dead. So I politely disagreed because I don't think it's the print media, any media, or anything like Blockbuster or any big companies, Kodak, they all died because they did not innovate with time. So I think your print media or LA Times will survive as long, and it has done that 15 years. So my question to all of you is that as individual, how did you renovate, innovate, rejuvenate to become a new person? Because without this, in this age, you cannot survive.
The question is, how did
Good question.
And how did you survive? So anybody that wants to take that question?
I'll start. I'm going to also say that when I started in journalism, I also was advised this is a dying industry. And I thought, okay, well that's fine. Then I'll just do it a couple years and then I'll go to law school. But then, that journalism bug stuck with me. But the thing is that people are always going to need to have information, regardless of whether it's in print or web or on the radio or TV or whatever. People are always going to need to be informed. I mean, this is a crux of a democracy, to have an informed citizenry. How I guess, survived. When I started at the Times, we were still doing paste stuff. We were, literally putting wax on the backs of stories, putting them on a board before they were put on the printing press. That was in 1993, 94, not that long ago, but the copy desk, the entire newsroom went through a system called pagination, where we started laying out stories on the computer, actual pages. So, technology, it evolves, people evolve with the technology. I know AI is a big issue right now for, is our newspaper is going to decide, is journalism going to survive? I wholeheartedly say yes, I think it will. I think there's always going to be a need for a human-to-human connection for us to get information, reliable information.
Can I add to it? It's a very good question, Mr. Myers, and business side of the news you're talking about. If you remember Andy Rooney, he was a 60 Minutes fantastic. He once said that print media failed to sell that when you see a story in print media, you know who wrote it, if there's a picture, who photographed it, so you can authenticate it. In social media today, or electronic media, anybody can write it. So it's a matter of, we should have, I think this is where the print media failed. But if you look at it, in our lifetime, we have seen there was a time when we had a television station, we have a radio, we lost that, and everything, media is changing. Now media has to learn how to make money out of it, and very soon they will see it. Nowadays you see that you can't, in your time, you can't read unless you subscribe to it. So all the papers are doing that. So print media will survive, but not as big as it was before. There will be some prints because they still make money from print media. They still make money. because they don't know how to make big bucks from social media, like online. And I think the only successful example is New York Times. I think New York Times is the only people that is making some money out of the, otherwise LA Times miserable, they're losing money. But anyway, it's a business decision, believe me, and they will do it, they'll catch up. The people who want to make money, they know how to make money and they will find a way.
Thank you. What's wrong with my mic? Is it working? I don't need one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for bearing with us. I know that you all are hungry, but I have just met a young girl, pretty of course, but with brains. So just give her 2 minutes to give a comment about a question was asked, and I think it's the most appropriate answer. Please come, Sarah. These are the people we are looking for. Come from this one. There's a stage.
She's my daughter.
You know, as I always say, that if we have more people peppered here in the room, it means we are dying. We need people like these, black, dark black, not the colored one. Go for it.
I have some pepper too.
Yeah.
Anyways, 2 minutes. The question was asked, is there bias in the news media? I would extend that, is that bias anywhere in politics today? Yes, there is. But in order for that to change, the power of that changing actually depends on individuals like you. For you to see the stories that cover you appropriately, for you to be represented the way you should be represented. You should be calling, you should be emailing, you should be messaging anyone and everyone you can. I'm sure you guys see the careless, sign your name here, sign your petition here. You see those reports that CNN or LA Times or Fox News puts out, and they are inappropriate and they're offensive. Email the editors, email the reporters, until you use your voices. It can't be on the backs of just the representatives in media or the representatives on politicians. Your voices matter more. Your voices carry more weight. So I encourage you to get involved. Don't write email. Do everything possible. Because you guys are really the ones we're doing it for, and you guys are really the ones that hold the power. So, thank you.
So much. One more question. Thank you so much, Sarah. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's the daughter of Irfan Khan. Sarah, wonderful comments. So we have the last comment, and after that, our direct sponsor and president of Friends of Pakistan would then present, recognition awards. For that, I will be inviting Abda Ahmed and Darsha Malik to come to the podium to handle the award. But I'm asking him, my dear colleague, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, any panelist can answer that. As a community, what can we do to support the minority voice in the media?
So the question is, what can the community do to support the minority voices in the media? Anyone who would like to answer that question?
So the best support, I think Sarah just answered that question. You see, I have done so many stories, and I have received, appreciation from non-community members. They like my story, they wrote the letter, they emailed, but I never got a single note from our own community. Many of us people don't even subscribe. They will be very critical. So what my daughter just said, you have to participate. If you see a story by Sohana or any one of us sitting here, if you like the story, you must write to the editor. You must appreciate. Never do that. So this is how you can participate. I think that answers the question.
That was a wonderful panel discussion. How about a big round of applause for all of our esteemed panelists? Now, I would invite Abda Ahmed and Darsha Malik to please take care of the award presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, joining us tonight. We hope you found this event informative, and engaging. Your participating is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Friends of Pakistan is excited to present certificate to our panelists in recognition of their outstanding contribution and dedication to our community.
मुस्तकीम भाई सारे बोर्ड मेंबर इधर घर लेके जा रहे हैं वापस कर दो
I request Friends of Pakistan board member to come on the stage under the FOP bed.
All the FOP members, please join us here.
So there will be nobody there. आइए यास्मीन, आइए भाभी, आइए
Please join the team. Get your.
कमाल भाई, कमाल जफर साहब. जी आ रहे हैं नहीं, एक को नहीं बुलाएंगे समन, हमने सोचा तुम्हारे तस्वीर में आ जाए अहमद अली साहब आइए ना सर आइए ना जल्दी कर ले, भूख बहुत लगेगी और मेरा शुगर नीचे हो रहा है. हंग्री नहीं, हैंग्री हो रहा हूँ मैं. Thank you, sir.
Next we have Rubena Azhar to join the FOP
भाई आप इधर ही हैं. इधर आए ना, सारी भाभी इधर आई ना. जुबान आ रही वैसे ही. And there will be a spelling mistake, just avoid it. This is correct.
Please.
Thank you.
They have to give you a badge so you know this flag.
Next we have
Anywhere you live in this part of this world. देख आए ऊपर वो देखो That's why we need young people to join us. Very good.
Next we have Sumana Hussain.
भाभी ये
Last recipient is Amira, but
with the SOP team and get you to work. Thank you.
No pictures. Come just go. She doesn't want
I think everyone is waiting for the dinner. Dinner is almost ready.
one last one. Thank you. Okay, look this way.
Dinner is ready. And please don't forget to give round of applause to today MC Arif Mansoori and our sponsor Jamal Khwaja.
Excellent work. अच्छा मेरी speech start है. हेलो. देखिए खाने में जल्दी ना करें, खाना नहीं उठेगा 12 बजे तक. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to acknowledge Daraksha Malik, Abda Almas, Afia Ali, Samad Mahmood, Salma Bhabi, and all the people from the board members of Friends of Pakistan for coming early. Yasmin, Dr. Yasmin, for coming early and making this program very colorful. Now I have one more announcement. Can you guys hear me? Samin bhai, आवाज आ रही है क्या? Samin bhai, आ रही है आवाज ना? Very good. I have one more announcement. As I have already mentioned earlier, Ali Taj Saab is running for the California Senate, and we have decided, me as individual Jamal Khwaja and my partner in crime Arif Zafar Mansoori Saab, that we are hosting his fundraising on 1st of December. We'll have a wonderful brunch. So be ready, mark your calendar, 1st December 2024, a fundraising for Ali Taj Saab. Thank you. Ali bhai, udhar aa jaइए. पहले ये बताएं बाल से जा रहे हैं इसमें कौन से पहले बताएं ना आ गया आप सेंटर में It's very nice. Look at this, perfect. तेज है। मैंने हरामी है, किसी को भी बताऊंगा कि एप्लीकेशन 1.5 घंटे में डायरेक्ट किसी के पास चले जाएंगे, उससे बात करनी पड़ेगी कि भाई इसको थोड़ा सा असेसमेंट से ज़्यादा उसको अंदाजा मिले कि ये क्या है, नहीं मालूम तो मैं कहता हूँ उसको थोड़ा समझाना पड़ेगा कि भाई अगर हमने कहीं चलाना है, कहीं करना है, मैंने से पूछा कि LDA से हम करा के इसका करना है, तो आप मुझे बताएं आप जो आगे ये एप्लीकेशन दिखा रहे हैं, मुझे समझ में आ गई एप्लीकेशन, मुझे आपकी क्या ज़रूरत है। मैं इसी वजह से अपने आदमी को फ़ोन किया वो हमें भी मिल जाएगा, वो मैं अभी सोच रहा हूँ, मैं सोच के सोचना है। But like you guys are okay.